Welcome to the town of Salem, Massachusetts during the time of the Salem witch trials. All of us around the table are citizens of Salem, and we have seen some terrible, terrible things lately. People have been cursed, there's witchcraft everywhere. People have been put on trial, and even worse, burned at the stake, drowned, possibly hung. So it's really, really bad, and we want to leave. Can you blame us? We are going to found our new town called New Salem. So all of us are members of this founding group, and it's going to be a short distance away. We're going to build it, and it's going to be witch-free. So each of us throughout the game will have an identity card. So we will either be one of the 6 Puritans, or it's possible that a witch has snuck into our founding group, maybe even multiple witches. So we're going to have one of these cards. It's going to be face down in front of us throughout the game, and it will remain face down for the entire game until the very, very end. Each of us will build a district in the town of New Salem. So the district will be in front of us, and the whole table itself will be New Salem. So we're each building just one district in the town. We're going to build buildings throughout the game, and so those will go in front of us, and they will add possibly victory points for us. Our character cards will have 2 different types of buildings that will give us points. So I have the red buildings, the entertainment buildings. So for each of those that I build, I get 1 victory point. Some of the buildings will also add despair. If they have a skull symbol on them, then you add a despair to those buildings. So throughout the game, we're adding despair to the town of New Salem, which is not good for the Puritans, but is good for the witches. At the end of the game, so after 5 rounds, we will, depending on the number of players, there'll be an amount of despair that is a threshold that means that the witches win. So in a 4-player game, if there's 8 or more despair in our town, so all of the districts combined, then the witch with the most victory points will win. If there's less than 8 in a 4-player game, then the Puritan with the most victory points will win the game. So there's only one winner in each game of New Salem. But you are on a team. You're basically on a team, either the Puritan team or the witch team. So you are trying to accomplish your team goal so that your team is eligible to win. But then you're trying to selfishly complete your own personal goal of having the most victory points. And hope that both your team wins and you have the most victory points on your team. So that's how the game ends, and that's how you win New Salem. So let's set up a game, and the first thing you do is you go through all of the cards, and you look in the bottom right corner of each card, all the buildings and all of the events. So you look for them, and you take out any that have a number greater than the number of players who are playing the game. So I'm going to set up a sample 4-player game. So I would take out any 5+, 6+, 7+, or 8+ cards. I would only keep in the 3+ and the 4+. So that's what I'm going to do for both the buildings and the events. Okay, now I have the pile separated. I put the ones that are not going to be included in the game just back in the box. I won't need those at all. For the rest of them, I will put out the event cards. Haven't talked about those, but I will momentarily. Okay, so those go just in the center of the table. Everybody can see what's available. When you're dealing out the character cards, you're going to, it depends on the number of players, so you can reference the rules. There's a table right on the back that shows how many number of players
how many witches you add, how many Puritans you add for those that you deal out. So in a 4-player game, you add 2 witch cards. The witches are the ones with the skull symbol on them and the dark and dreary background. So what you do there is you take all the witches, shuffle them up, choose, in a 4-player game, 2 of them. The other 2 will go back into the box. You won't use them for this game. You take the Puritans, so again, 4-player game, we need 4 of them. Puritans are the one with the sun symbol on them and the light, happy blue sky background. So shuffle those up, add 4 random ones. The rest of them can go into the box. Now you're not sure which 2 witches and which 4 Puritans are in the ones that you deal out. But you shuffle all of those up, and you deal 1 to each player. And the 2 remaining ones in a 4-player game would go back into the box. This way, you don't know, maybe those were the 2 witches that were put back into the box, and you have all 4 Puritans, which means that you're still going to be very paranoid of who is a witch and who is not, even though there are not any of them. And you'll all be competing just for victory points at the end, but it will be a very fun game, accusing people left and right, and possibly even putting them on trial, even though that you're all on the same team. Or those could have been 2 Puritans, and now there's 2 witches and 2 Puritans, so that is going to be a very despair-ridden game. But this way, it makes it much more fun to not know exactly how many witches and how many Puritans are in the game.
And we begin. So, in New Salem, each round, there's 5 rounds. You're going to be drafting buildings. And so that's similar to 7 Wonders or Sushi Go. There are plenty of drafting games out there. That just means that you're going to get a few cards. You're going to choose one to take, put that face down in front of you, and then you're going to pass the rest to the player either on your left or your right, and then you will be passed more cards. You'll choose one of those, put it down, again pass cards to the player to your left or right, and again keep doing that until you've drafted all of the cards. So we'll say take that one. You'll be given a different amount of buildings to draft each round. So it's gonna be kind of a bell curve. It's gonna start out with a few, build up, and then it's gonna go back down to a few near the end. So round 1, you'll be dealt 3 cards and you'll actually build 2 buildings. Then in round 2, you'll be dealt 4 and you'll build 3. You'll be dealt 5 in round 3 and you'll be dealt 4 and you'll play 4. Then in round 4, you'll be dealt 4, so this is where it goes back down again. Dealt 4, play 3, and 5, deal 3, play 2, going back down to what it was in the first round. So that's how you know how many you'll play. So let's say I was playing 3 buildings this round. I would put them out in front of me, and for every skull, I would put a despair on the buildings. This is good for the witches, but it's possible that my character card awarded me points for the yellow buildings. So the finance buildings here, just look at the symbol. The finance buildings each give me 1 victory point. So this would normally be hidden. I'll leave it face up so everybody can see it. But so I would get for these 3 buildings, here's a gloom building. I don't get any for that. And I get 1 victory point for each of these yellow buildings. So a simple way to play, especially with your first game, just draft buildings that match the symbols / colors on your card. Then for every hope symbol on any of the buildings that you play, you would add a hope cube to it. Now hope, despair we've already talked about. That helps determine whether your team wins or not, or whether your team is eligible to win. We haven't talked about hope. Hope is currency in the game. So at the end of each round, you will be able to trigger certain events. There are 4 available events, and you can use these hope cubes to trigger those events. So it's very good to get it. No matter which team you're on, hope can help you. Another way to score points, so we already talked about just matching your color to your symbol. That's one way to score points. The other way to score points would be to build a full set of 3 buildings. So for each color, there are 3 different types, 3 different buildings of each color. So for the finance buildings, we have the bank, the pawnbroker, and the gaming den. Those are the 3 types. So if you collect all 3, they will form a beautiful picture like this, and they will score you an additional 2 points. So because I have the finance buildings as my type, I would get 1, 2, 3 points, but then for the set, I would get an additional 2, so 5 total. If I did not have finance as one of my types, say I was this dude, he gets entertainment and education building victory points. He still collected a yellow set. That's okay. He doesn't get the 1, 2, 3 that he would if he had finance as one of his symbols, but he gets 2 victory points for completing a set. So even if you don't have the colors of a certain set, you can still go for it, try to complete it, and get some points. You may also throw off the players on each side of you too, so that they don't know what you're actually going for. So that's how buildings work. There are 2 other buildings, so normally it's just either you get hope, you get nothing, or you get despair for buildings that you play. There are 2 special building types that I'd like to call out though. The burial grounds will give you both a hope and a despair cube. So that has both symbols, so add both cubes to that building when you play it. The other one is the sheriff's office. Here it is, and it has a shattered despair symbol on it. So when you play that, you just take 1 despair cube off any building. It could be your building, it could be an opponent's building, it really doesn't matter. Just take 1 of them off and put it back into this center. And that's it. So those are the buildings. That's how you score points. So basically, you're trying to, if you're a witch, either try to add despair and also generate as many victory points as you can. If you're a Puritan, you're trying to generate as many victory points as you can and add as little despair as possible. But you're still going to have times where you're going to have that moral decision of, do I play this building that will give me victory points but will hurt my team because it will add despair? Or do I take a building that won't give me victory points but it won't add despair? So you'll have to make that decision for yourself. So we play 5 rounds where we do that drafting. So in round, we'll use round 2 as an example. We'll be dealt 4 cards. We'll look at all of them. So we choose which one. So my colors are yellow and green, the finance and the trade buildings. I don't have any trade buildings, so I can do a pawnbroker or a bank. I'm going to choose a bank because it's going to give me a hope. The pawnbroker will not. So I'm going to put that face down. Just put it right on my character card so I don't get it confused with others. Then in round 2, you can look at the round counter and it will tell you which way you should be drafting. You should be passing your cards. So in round 2, we're going to the right. So I'm going to pass the other 3 to my right. I'll be given 2 cards from the player on my left. These do not match either of my colors. So I will just choose, since I'm a Puritan, I'm just going to choose this one. I don't want to add any despair to the town. I'm going to choose that one and go for that red set. I'm going to pass the rest to my right. And now I'm going to be given 2 cards. This is important. So whenever, no matter the round, whenever you're given 2 cards, you're choosing between 2. If you like one of them, you can just choose one. I would choose possibly this one and discard the other one. Or if you don't like either of them, you can put both of them, discard both of them, put them on the bottom of the deck of building cards, and draw one random and hope that it's something that you like. But you have to play that. So you cannot do that until you're deciding between 2 cards. That's when you get that special decision. If you have 3, you have to just choose one and pass the rest. You can't do any kind of discarding. So once the round is over, you would put any cards face up. Let's see, start another one here. You would add any hope for any of these symbols, and any despair for the others. You do not add additional hope for buildings you played in previous rounds. You only add hope and despair for the buildings you played this round. If you do have the sheriff's office, which takes away a despair, and there's no despair to take away, then it doesn't do anything. You can't save that for next round or anything like that. So when you play that, you should make sure that there is despair. Unless you're a witch. So that's how drafting and building buildings work. At the end of each round, you can trigger events. So we'll say round 2 just completed, and I have saved up, we'll say 3 hope. So I have 3 white cubes. I'm going to go through each event that you can trigger. So one is confession. So confession will allow you to pay 2 hope cubes, and you can secretly look at somebody else's card, their character card. So let's say I want to do confession. I pay 2 hope. Do confession. It has an infinity symbol, which means it can be used as many times as you want throughout the game. If it has an X through the infinity symbol, that means you actually use it up. So there's only 2 pardons and 2 trials in the game, but cleansing and confession can be used as many times as you want. So I did a confession, so I secretly look at this card, don't want to let anybody else see it, and I can't show it to anybody else, and I put it back. And now I can say anything I want about it or say nothing. So I can say, "You're a witch," or if I see a Puritan card from somebody, I can still say, "You're a witch." So if I wanted to do a cleansing, it costs 5 hope and it removes 2 despair. So I pay my 5 hope and I remove 2 despair cubes from any building. Could be my building, could be anybody else's building, it doesn't matter at all. And that is cleansing. Another one is trial. So if somebody is adding a whole bunch of despair all over on their buildings, you can put them on trial. So you pay 4 hope. So 4 hope to do a trial, and you put it right on their character card. And then when they play buildings, they draft buildings and play them, they do not add any hope or despair for them. So this one would normally give me hope, but it doesn't because I'm on trial. So this was on me. So that's how that works. If you find somebody who's adding a whole bunch of despair, put them on trial, if you're a Puritan, so that they cannot do any more damage. So somebody on trial would still be going for their victory points. So let's say I'm Mortimer here, a witch. I'm going for education, entertainment, and trade buildings. So I still go for these buildings. I'm still going for the win. I'm trying to get as many victory points as I possibly can. But I'm now cannot add any more despair to try to help bring that threshold, that level above the threshold, so that my team wins. Hopefully I have another witch friend out here somewhere adding more despair. Or I just have some selfish Puritans who are just going for victory points themselves and adding much despair for me. So that's trial. Pardon is a very good thing for a witch to do. A Puritan can if they'd like, but it's usually a pretty witchy thing to do. This costs 5 hope. You put that on your character card, and it means that nobody can target you with the trial. Once you are put on trial, there's no way to remove it at all. So you can't be put on trial and then get a pardon to remove the trial. That doesn't work. You have to get this first. So at the end of the round, let's say somebody wants to put you on trial and somebody wants to buy a pardon. It's just whoever does it first. So it's you just say, "Stop, I am buying a pardon," if you think you might be trialed. You give your 5 hope, get yourself a pardon. But if somebody, before you can do that, says, "Stop, I'm going to put you on trial," then you get put on trial, even if you have your 5 hope cubes. Now, if you're on trial, you can still spend these. So maybe you're going to put a Puritan on trial. So maybe you didn't get your pardon off in time, but you're going to use your 4 hope cubes to put somebody who you know is a Puritan on trial. So that's how events work. One more thing about this, which is one of the most fun parts about the game. Let's say I want to put somebody on trial. I think this fellow is a witch. So I only have 2 hope. I can ask somebody to give me some hope, or maybe to do a cleansing. So let's say I say, "Give me 2 hope, and I will put this person on trial." And this person says, "Okay, I'm good with that. I'll give you 2 hope." But now it's up to me to decide what to do with these 4. I can just keep them, not do anything. Maybe I can get somebody else and say, "I'm actually not going to do a trial." But if somebody gives me one more hope cube, I will do a cleansing and get rid of 2 despair. And I get somebody to give me a hope, so now I have 5 hope. I can still do anything I want. I can do the cleansing I said I was going to do, or maybe I'm a witch and I'm going to use these 5 to just give myself a pardon. So if you can convince somebody to give you hope, to do something good for the Puritan side, a witch can actually do something completely different, buy themselves a pardon, maybe put a Puritan on trial. It's up to you. Once somebody gives you those hope cubes, they're yours to do whatever you want with them. Any cards that were discarded in the previous round get shuffled back in the deck. So after each round, or if somebody is just kind of waiting during the round for the triggering of events to take place, they can start shuffling up the building deck, shuffling all the discards into it, and then you just deal out the, say round 4, you deal out 4 cards. Okay, everybody has 4, and then you start drafting again, and you say, I'm going to take that one, pass these. So round 4, going to the right, pass those to the right. And so that's how that works. You keep going through the 5 rounds. Then once you get done with 5 rounds, the end of the 5th round is the same as any other one. You use hope, you spend hope, you trigger events as needed, and then once all the hope is gone, if nobody can buy anything else or nobody wants to buy anything else, everybody flips over their character cards. We see who they are, and we see who was on trial. So here's where there's going to be a little bit of a point swing. So if a witch had been put on trial, then that is good for the Puritans. So we get to remove 2 despair from the game. Very good for the Puritans to find those witches and put them on trial. But if a Puritan was put on trial, that's bad for the Puritans. That causes despair in New Salem, so you add 2 despair cubes. So don't put Puritans on trial if you're a Puritan. If you're a witch, yes, try to put some Puritans on trial. If a witch gets to the end of the game and they are not put on trial, the witch got away. We have a witch running around our town of New Salem. That's bad. We also add 2 despair to the town for that. So once those trials are resolved, then you count up all the despair in the town, everybody's districts, doesn't matter if you're on trial or not, all of the black cubes, and you see, so for a 4-player game, if there is 8 or more despair. So let's say it ended like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means we're under that level. The Puritan with the most victory points would win the game. So all of the Puritans would count up all of their victory points. Whoever has the most would win. If that is still tied, then the tiebreaker is hope. So whoever has the most hope cubes that would be the tiebreaker in that case. If it's still tied after that, then there's a shared victory. That's the only way that you would share victory. Normally there's just one winner in each game. And that is it. That's how you play New Salem.